Here we are.
All right, we're recording.
Yes, we
Welcome
are.
back, everybody. We are back with another episode of the Weekly Anabolic. This is episode number 4. Brandon and I are here to be experts of nothing and tell you everything that you should and should not do.
Hey. How's it going,
Just
guys?
kidding. We know nothing.
Yeah, don't take what
How's
we're
it going,
saying for
Brandon?
face value. Just keep
Right.
it in the back of your heads. Definitely keep it in the back of your heads.
Brandon, you said you already trained today. How'd that go?
Today?
Yeah.
Oh no, I had some clients. I didn't train myself, but I did have some
Oh, okay.
clients this morning. Shout out to Keith and Kevin. These guys are pushing it every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, getting up at 8 a.m. and moving and grooving. And they've been making a lot of progress. Keith is finally Keith talks about his strength gains near every day. He's been feeling really good. He walks like 5 miles a day and he can't stop talking about it. And he's just been
Wow,
feeling much better. We've been working together
that's awesome.
for like I'd say like 5 months now. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but they're definitely like feeling the, you know, the effects of consistency for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. They're talking about their biceps now, talking about their
Getting
pecs.
getting
Keith's
massive.
stomach. Yeah, Keith's stomach is shrinking now. You can see his toes. He's got arches in his
Nice.
feet now. They're squatting right. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's
That's a
pretty
good feeling,
cool, man.
when you look down, you can see your toes, you
Yeah.
look down, you're like, hey there, buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
it's good.
I'm definitely proud of him. How are your clients
8
doing?
a, 8 a.m. sessions are tough, though.
Yeah, really tough. Definitely.
You like working out in the morning? Do you do that sometimes?
I don't really enjoy working out in the morning. I do like midday workouts just because I'm a little bit more like present, I would say.
Yeah,
I'm kind of a zombie in the AM. And I also like getting in a couple meals before I work out too. I always find that that's kind of nice.
yeah. Yeah, I definitely got to have like some meals in me. I got to have some movement in me.
Yeah.
I, I just don't perform the same if I lift in the morning. Even like lifting at noon is weird for me.
Yeah, like later in the day-ish, I would say like late noon, like maybe like
Yeah.
4, like 4-ish.
Yeah.
It's kind of prime time. But if I
Yep.
take pre-workout, if I work out too late and I take pre-workout at like 7 or 8, I
Mm-hmm.
won't fall asleep till
You
like
don't sleep.
1 or 2 in the morning. Yeah. That first
Ah,
night that
hits you that
you put
hard.
that hostility onto me, dude, and I took it at probably like I think I texted you that day too, and it was
Yep.
like 7 or 8-ish, and I was like, yo, should I go do this leg day? And you're like, yeah,
Yes,
just
I
do this leg
remember
day.
that.
And I was like, all right, here I go. And I literally didn't fall asleep till like 4 a.m. that night. And that scooper
You'll
is
tell me
massive. Like when you were showing me just like over Skype,
on the video.
it didn't look like nearly
It
as
doesn't
large
do it
as
justice. No.
no, not at all. Not at all. So
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
take your pre-workout too close to your bedtime because it will
yeah,
keep.
for sure. If it's if it's a stim based pre-workout,
Yeah,
definitely, be cautious with that. Going in or close to a bedtime.
yeah, for sure.
That's another reason why they make pump products, right? Is is just so that if you are lifting later in the day, you can take something that's going to help you get your pump, help you get a little focus in there, but it's not going to affect your sleep right after training. So
Yeah, that caffeine won't keep you up all night.
yeah,
Definitely. Yeah, man. How
yeah.
about you, dude? How are your clients going?
Good, man. It's so rewarding. It's like every day I watch them all like they're my children. To be honest, I check all of their forms like every day.
Yeah.
I get so excited. I'm like I take it as personal wins. I check their way in and all that stuff, and I'm like, yes, a new low.
Yeah.
Like I get so excited for them. It's awesome, and I have a new client that's now been with me for just 2 weeks. So we're
Mhm.
really just kind of getting into the swing of things, and she's crushing it. She's realizing how much she can eat and still lose weight.
Mhm.
Like she's so full all day long, and yet we're consistently watching the scale drop, and she feels better every day, and it's so cool. It's rewarding to teach people what proper nutrition can do for you, and how it makes you feel, and then watching them start to pay attention to how different foods make them feel, and watching them just create the habits behind proper nutrition, where she has cravings for sweets pretty regularly, um, but and I've told her she could, even if she can adjust the macros to fit it, she can go ahead and have a sweet every once in a while if she wants.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but she she got an ice cream, like a little pint of like Halo Top ice cream or something like that, and she ended up just giving it to her roommate because she's so full after eating that she just
Oh,
like she doesn't want to adjust the macros.
turning a new leaf.
Right, exactly. Like it's so cool seeing people make the habits, and just be able to make those choices and go, I don't actually need this.
Yeah.
It's so cool just to watch that develop for somebody.
Yeah.
Uh,
I also
and
agree.
that's one of the reasons why being a coach is so awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely really, really rewarding when you get to see someone who was struggling with something before not struggle with it anymore. Or
Yeah.
even like kind of come out with a random win that you didn't even expect, kind of like out of like
Yeah.
left field. And they're like, hey, even like, or like the arches of my feet are here now. And it's like,
Right.
wow, that's something that we weren't exactly working
We
forward
weren't
toward in
going towards,
particular,
but
but yeah, that's a good win. Yeah,
right.
it's really awesome. So I
Yeah.
think we're
It
in the right spot,
is.
dude.
It's so cool to genuinely help people.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah,
and I
there's nothing
think
like it.
I think sadly a lot of people don't get to experience what it's like to actually help other people.
Yeah.
Um, you know, a lot of people sit in their day jobs, and I have a day job. Um, and technically, I help a lot of people in my day job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm an IT guy, and I make sure that the company is not going to go under because of a problem.
Yeah.
If a major incident comes in that's stopping the company from making money, my team is what gets deployed to make sure that issue gets fixed.
Yeah.
And so technically, I'm helping a lot of people, but it doesn't have the same genuine feeling, right?
Yeah.
I'm helping this corporate monster, whereas when being a coach, I'm directly affecting somebody's life, and I can watch it happen.
Yeah. And I feel like
It's
it's also like feeling that connection to that job or that profession and like what you really like doing. Like if you really
yeah,
enjoy helping, like you're helping regardless in that company and you're definitely helping people. But like maybe, and I'm not like speaking for you, but like maybe you just feel much, much better helping people in this health and fitness realm than you do
sure,
like doing that, you know?
right,
Like it
yeah,
was
and
really,
so
it was good fun. Like weed whacking and mowing and mulching and stuff like that. Like when I was doing that, and I actually
yeah,
did enjoy some of it, and it looked nice, and I know that I like helped some people, but like I just
yeah,
get so much more out of helping people with this
yeah,
stuff. Obviously, something that I've been like gearing myself towards my entire life now.
yep,
It's definitely much more rewarding.
yeah, and so that's always been part of the plan, I suppose. Is I work this job because it provides the opportunity for me to build what I want to actually achieve and go after in life.
Yeah,
This job gives me the income and the stability to work on all of this side stuff I'm doing with, coaching, my own bodybuilding career, the clothing brand, now we're doing the podcast. Like, um, it gives me that opportunity to do all of these things.
yeah,
And so I'm grateful for the job. Absolutely.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but I know that job isn't exactly where, my heart lies, and
Mm,
where I think my skills are best put.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I get way more out of, training and helping people, learn nutrition and training and those kinds of things versus, being the IT guy.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
that's a quick little synopsis on my business life.
Right. A little deep dive. Sometimes the side hustles are necessary though. Like you can't exactly do what you want to if you're in a tight spot, you know. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, you know, you listen to other people like Gary Vee, for instance, or something, and you know, you grab yourself a side job and you put that money into something that you really love and
Yep.
until that side job becomes your main job, you know,
Yeah. Absolutely. You know,
or your
if
main
you're,
job becomes your side job for your side job.
yeah.
That's now your main job.
Yeah. I mean, I'm I'm always a big advocate for, if you don't love what you're doing, you should probably try picking up something that you love doing.
Hmm. Yeah.
And we can't always just make the jump, right? I mean, we're both pretty young, and we can bounce back from bad financial decisions currently.
Hmm.
But you can't always just hop off from the job you're doing, and that's where you got to take advantage of your hours of the day and be as efficient as you can,
Yeah.
and pick up something else.
Hmm.
Pick up your side job or a side hustle, and work with it and see what it actually takes and if you actually enjoy it before leaping over, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think another thing that happens to a lot of people is we get this idea that we would love to do something, um, and then you make that hop over, and then you end up realizing that you don't really love it that much, but you're already stuck in it.
Yeah.
Um, Cough, cough. That's what college is. Cough, cough. Um, anyway.
It's true though.
Oh, so yeah, it's good to dabble a little bit, and if you can put 10 hours a week into something, I think that's plenty to find out if you actually enjoy doing it, and if it's something that is possible to become an income or a full-time job for you. You'll be able to find out by just
Hmm.
putting in that 10 hours, right? Because you can look at that 10 hours that you're spending every week, and if you scale it to 40 hours, what more can you accomplish, right? Or 50 hours or 60 hours or and so on, right? Like 40 hours doesn't have to be the cap.
Yeah.
Right? I definitely work way more than 40 hours a week,
Hmm.
but
You
that's
are
because,
definitely a busy dude.
yeah.
Always working.
There's always more you can pile on. I like trying a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Which is good because variety is the spice of life, you know? Not many people, they don't have the opportunity to figure out what they like because they don't really try
Yeah.
anything else outside of what they already know. So
Yeah.
the best way to kind of figure out what you like is to figure out what you do and you don't like. I always say that to
Yep.
people too. Like when they figure out that they don't like something, I usually say good. You know,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
better that you figured that out now and not 50
Yeah.
years down the road that, hey, I've been doing this job and I hate it. You know, it's
Yeah.
better to figure
It
out that you
is
don't like
it is
something
so
sooner.
much better to find out you don't like something than to down the road go, well, if I woulda,
Yeah. Yeah,
who knows,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
You know, try everything. I always tell everybody, you know, take maybe take this with a grain of salt, but take every opportunity that shows up to you. If something shows up, just do it. Just try it. You know,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
especially if you're young. If you're our age, you're in your 20s, even in your 30s, um, and especially if you're in your teens, just if an opportunity comes up, whether it's a job, it's someone asking you to help them with something, a
Mm-hmm.
project, even
Yeah.
just like a fucking dream that comes
Yeah.
to you, and you're like, that could be interesting. Just do it,
Yeah.
right?
I agree.
just just literally try it out,
Yeah.
because
You'll,
worst case you stop doing it,
yep.
best
Yeah.
case you love it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And you keep going.
And you keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And it becomes
you
something
know,
really cool. Yeah.
exactly. So always just try stuff. You
Yeah.
know, I've found so many things that I don't like doing, and even those things that I don't like doing have taught me something to help me accomplish what I do like doing.
Yeah.
right? And from doing those things that I found out I didn't want to do as a career or even really as a hobby full time, right? I still learned a skill that was
Yeah.
valuable. You
Hmm.
know, we're, we've all got this toolbox with us,
Yeah. At all
and you
times.
just have to keep adding tools. It's not
Hmm.
that you're going to use all the tools all the time, but there does come a time where you need the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
And if you haven't had the experience to gain that tool yet, it's going to make doing that job a lot harder than it needs to be. So
Yeah.
just try stuff, learn. You know, that's another important aspect of trying things is you have to be willing to reflect on what you're doing and what you're learning from it. You know, when you're trying stuff out, it's not a point A to point B kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, it should be taken as a full experience, and you want to learn as much as you can from whoever, and then go from there,
Yeah.
right? You have to be willing and wanting to learn.
Yeah. And to
Knowledge is so big.
yeah, I completely agree. Completely agree. And to like translate that into like this lifting atmosphere, go gung ho in this area.
Yep.
Expose yourself to as much knowledge as you possibly can, and always, always, always like reach for more knowledge, for more tools to put into your tool belt. Because when it comes down to it, there are going to be things that you don't exactly enjoy, and figuring out,
Mhm.
and just going through those things that you don't enjoy will still make you that much better in the long run because it's
Yeah.
just that much more tools in the tool belt for sure.
Yep. Especially if you're looking to make the fitness realm a career,
Yeah.
right? You got
Hmm.
to try and soak up as much knowledge as you can because
Yeah.
there's so much to learn. There's so much always being learned. You know, there's the basics, which really should be mastered at an early level, or you should be working to master them at an early level. But there's so many fine intricacies that come with tuning the human body,
Hmm.
and everyone's human body is a little bit different. So having the right tools and the right knowledge is just overall going to put you in a much better place
Yeah.
than if you are very, one mindset. There's one path to success, all of that.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's better to know a lot and know where and when to apply it than to only know one thing.
Yeah. Yep. And just
Yeah.
beat it against the wall.
Yep.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So, um, take away from all that. Seek knowledge, friends.
Always. Always.
Always seek knowledge.
Always ask questions.
Yes, ask lots of questions, even if you think the people that you're asking won't answer them. If there's people you follow on Instagram, especially in the lifting space, a lot of the big guys are actually really nice.
Yeah.
Um, they're
Definitely.
all really nice. Well, I'm not gonna say all of them. Most of them are really nice. Um, and they respond to their messages because they know that the bodybuilding lifting community it's really a pretty close knit community. We're a small niche of people in the grand scheme of things. And they love their fans, right? They live for their fans. And so if you ask them a question, most times you'll get an answer.
Yeah.
You
What do
know,
you think? What's your opinion on just asking like the everyday dude versus someone who you might trust a little bit more than others?
what do you count as the everyday dude?
Like maybe
I
the
guess.
everyday, well, not like the everyday
Make a
dude,
scenario
but
for me.
let's say like we'll use the generic influencer. So some dude that if I asked like, hey, what's the best exercise for my chest? And then they happily give you an exercise for your chest. Like, would that be a flag to you? Like, how do you discern between good knowledge, or misleading knowledge?
You know, and maybe this is just because of, who I follow and just my own experience, right? I can only talk from my own experience. Um, but the people that I follow on Instagram generally have a rhyme and reason to what they post.
Yeah.
You know, for me, the general influencer, I actually have a name for them now. Haley and I came up with a name for the average influencer. I think they're the same. Haley says she thinks they're different, but the general influencer that doesn't really know what they're talking about, but they preach a lot.
Yeah.
I call them wumbos.
Wombos.
Wumbos. Yep.
Word.
I wumbo,
Yeah.
he
He
wumbos,
wombos. He,
everybody
she,
wumbos,
it.
right?
Wombos.
Because
Yeah.
that's this. You're right. The study of wumbology.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
because they literally say that.
Yeah.
They're like,
It's just mumbo
this
jumbo.
this is the best exercise. He
Yeah.
does it. I do it. We've
Yes.
studied it, right?
Yeah.
And to try and preach. And so I call them wumbos.
Yeah.
Um, it's just a fun way to talk about them.
I like that. I'm gonna take that from you.
All right. Um, but so the people that I follow generally don't preach like that. So I guess I don't really sit in that scenario very often. But I think if you're just getting started, um, and you don't know who like the good people in the industry are, and you don't have a voice that kind of tells you who the good people in the industry are, um, ask a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Get a wide array of inputs, right?
Hmm.
Um, also, something that is worth doing is take a look at the person that you're asking,
Yeah.
right? So if you take a look at a guy on social media and you're like, okay, he's got a pretty decent upper body, but his legs are lacking. Probably don't ask him about how to train legs,
Yeah.
right? So you gotta ask, you gotta take a look at the people and ask their strengths, right? And so that's the first thing I would do if you're a beginner and you're looking to start asking people questions. Um, the other piece of advice is don't ask anybody what the best thing to do is.
Yeah.
Just because everybody's going to give you a different answer. You what do you do? But don't ask what the best is. Just because it's totally different. Likely the people that you're asking are in very different situations than you are. Um, so you got to keep that in mind when you're asking questions is don't look for a one size fits all answer, I guess, is kind of how I want to say it. Um, but to go back to the original question of asking a general influencer versus like someone you trust, um, start with someone you trust.
Mm.
Um, and then if that someone that you trust doesn't have an answer for you or their answer doesn't align with you, I suppose, um, ask around,
Yeah.
ask a bunch of people.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
Just kind of getting as much information as you possibly
yeah,
can.
right. Because everybody's probably going to have a different answer,
Yeah.
right? There's and there isn't one right answer, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
Everybody trains kind of different ways. Everybody has different thresholds for different things or different exercises and, mechanical advantages for some exercises. So, asking someone, which is better, doing a barbell incline press or a Smith incline press,
Yeah.
is gonna, the person that answers um, is completely different from you.
Yeah.
And so, they're depending on who you ask, it's going to be one or the other,
And
right?
I was
There's
gonna
benefits.
say,
There's benefits to both.
yeah. I was
Um,
gonna say there's two factors. It's like the person that is asking that kind of a question, like what are the best exercises for my chest or for my back
yeah.
or for my legs, this, that, and the other. If you're asking that question like right off the bat, you're probably not looking down the right path, so to speak. You should
Yeah.
probably be asking like other questions, like, you know, just kind of just generally what they would do in order to like train their chest, or like a mentality around training their chest or their back or their legs or something like that, or asking for like certain cues or techniques that they
Hmm.
could be doing to help them get more out of those lifts, whether it's a cable fly or a bench press or a deadlift or
Yeah.
something like that. I feel like those questions, kind of how can I improve these lifts, rather than like what I can do,
Right. What are
that
some
would be,
cues? Those are good
yeah.
questions,
Yeah,
right?
guys, seriously. That like I always stress that with my clients, is to really ask questions and to ask like 3D questions. And that would be a 3D question, like kind of how can I improve A, B, and C to help me improve my lift, right? Like what can I
Yes.
do for my cueing, for my bracing, for my rooting through my feet and my grip positioning and things like that. And then if you look on the other side of the token, and then you look at the person that's supplementing you with answers, I would say that generally speaking, if someone gives you like a do this, A, B, C, and don't go outside of those parameters, then that information is most likely not going to fit your scenario particularly. It's
Absolutely.
kind of like if I just gave some dude like a random workout right off, just like I don't know anything about him or his previous exercising history or what he wants out of it, like, and I just
Yep.
gave him a program, you know, and I was just like, follow this. That's usually not the best idea. There's probably something a little bit more optimal for you. And then in terms of being too general, you know, you don't want something like, we'll just go in and lift and eat right. You know, like that's a little bit too vague,
Right.
you know. But if you can, in some way, kind of guide someone down a proper path, like just kind of holding their hand for like the first little bit, or kind of show them like, hey, here's how you might want to get from A to Z, you know, then, you know, and it's a little bit more guided, but still allows you to kind of like loosely travel outside of those boundaries, like kind of wander a little bit, then, you know, I would say that's like some pretty sound information, you know. But people should not
Yeah.
really be saying like, hey, you should really do like outside of the obvious, obviously you should stick to heavy compounds. But if some dude is like, oh, okay, you're gonna rock your chest day, and then you're gonna have a back day, and then you're gonna have a shoulders and arms day, and then you're gonna have a leg day, and then you're gonna blast yourself with volume on each of those days.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like that's just you getting a program and just following it, you know, and just seeing what sticks, which to an extent can work, but there's always something a little bit more optimal out there for you, generally speaking.
Yeah. Be careful of coaches that just push volume.
Yeah.
So little side note of what to look for when looking at a coach.
Yeah.
But back to kind of what we were talking about. You know, if you're at the stage where you're asking what exercises I should do, um, these I hate the word influencers, but these influencers,
Influencers
they
suck, by the way. If you have any Instagram influencers on your feed, delete them right now. Just seriously, like just delete them, because they won't offer you anything but like, you know, an aspiration to have a physique that isn't yours, and they're tricking you into thinking that certain exercises will do better than other exercises. And the
yeah,
information that they're giving you is generally very run of the mill. Do this, that. Here's my cookie cutter program. And they're usually trying to sell you something too. Just delete them off your Instagram.
yeah.
I'm sorry, Ray. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. That was spot on. As I was saying, you know, okay, I'm not going to use the word influencers, but people that you follow, that you look up to, I
Yeah.
guess, you know, your current idols that you would ask the question to of what exercises should I do? They put out so much content now that those are the questions that they don't answer. Because if you just scroll through their Instagram feed, you'll see what exercises they do,
Yeah.
right? If you go to their YouTube channel, you'll see what their chest day looks like. You know, those are the questions that they don't answer because they put so much of that content out there.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're at that stage where you're wondering what exercises to do, um, you know, one, stick to the basics, get really good at them.
Yeah.
But two, just just look, you know, before asking, try to do some of your own research,
Mm-hmm.
I suppose. You know, look through their page of the people that you want to follow and look at their YouTube, and you know, just because you don't want to be that fan that goes directly to them for information that they've already put out. That's not how you build a good relationship with them, right? So look first when you're about to ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's my advice.
Yeah.
And if it's not out there at all, then go ahead and ask the question.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like I think influencers do one thing in particularly really, really well, and that is motivate. I think that they can be
Yeah.
very good motivators, and that's great. But on the other side of things, like that's like the mental game, but like on the mechanical side of things, you moving, like if these guys aren't talking about kind of how to set up for these lifts or why you're setting up for these lifts or where the implementation for these exercises are inside of your programming, like I think the most typical thing you would see is like try this tricep burner, like or
Yeah.
finisher at the very end.
Burner.
It's
Yeah.
like it's
Those
like
words.
that will motivate you. And when you get in there, you will feel that because you're doing a drop set and you're mechanically bringing failure each time. But just because you've
Yeah.
brought yourself mechanically to failure each of those 5 sets and you totally destroyed your tricep, it doesn't necessarily mean that that had a place in its program. It did a really good job and you felt something and you probably got a really solid stimulus out of it that day. But in the long run, you can't run with it for too long. It will only carry
Yeah.
you for so long. So it's like these guys can offer you a good amount in terms of like your mental game and your motivation and maybe even a mentality when you're approaching these sets because learning how to train towards failure is definitely super important.
For
But it
sure.
doesn't mean that these guys are necessarily there to help you with your actual programming, actually helping you progress your programming, getting you stronger, getting you bigger. And I think that that's kind of where you can look in other directions, kind of take that mental motivation from those influencer type of guys, if you will, but then don't take anything else from them. Don't really look at their tricep burners or their quad finishers or this, that, the other, but then look at really smart guys. You know, you've got Mike Isertel, all the guys at 3DMJ. You've got James Hollingshed, JP. Um, Joe Bennett, like these guys that we're kind of that we always kind of talk about, these guys that all have a very similar mentality. These guys can outpush and outfinish all the influencers that I think I've ever seen or come across. And
Hmm.
their mentality and their motivation, their drive, and the way that they train mechanically too, like everything, it's all there. So it's kind of like it's not necessarily picking a poison, but like picking your tools and being very selective about the tools that you're putting inside of that tool belt for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, you know, anybody that puts up a post that just goes, you know, throw this into your next leg day or, you know, anything along
Yeah.
those lines,
Yeah.
right? Um, you know, it's probably something that one time is going to feel wild,
Wild.
but it's not something to keep in a program,
Yeah.
right? And so influencers are really good at just like tossing you random exercises that are going to create like a super new stimulus to you.
Yeah.
Um, but really, when you're setting up your training program, you want it to last as long as possible doing the same exact
Yeah. There you
thing.
go. Gucci.
Clients. um, but yeah, so yeah, you know, when you're setting up your programming, you don't want to have to change every 6 weeks,
Yeah.
right? You, a perfect program, you should. I mean, I've followed the same general lifts for about a year, right?
Same.
Like my program has changed so minimally
Yeah.
over the course of a year,
Hmm.
and
And real quick, how
most
much have you
times,
progressed?
oh, okay. Um,
What was Brady RDLing at the beginning of his split, and what is Brady RDLing now, 1 year later,
my
not having changed a thing?
my very first RDL day, dude, it was so bad. I think it was like 185 for like 6,
Yeah.
and my lower back was so shot, and I
Yeah.
was just like fried.
Hmm.
Granted, it was kind of first day back in the gym after really shit in the bed with a lot of stuff. um, but yeah, I mean it was 185 for 6, and I was just like shot.
Yeah. And
And
now,
now I'll do 415 for 6 and comfortably walk into another set of 365 for 15.
yeah. So up nearly like 300 pounds almost.
Right, exactly. Like that's part of that is becoming, maximally efficient at the movement.
Yep. Yep.
The other part of that is just hitting it hard every single time I went into the gym,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like from that day of day one, I was like, I want to be stupid strong at this movement.
Yeah. Yep.
And so it was just like my mental goal, and always has been my mental goal to just like always lift better at
Yeah.
that specific movement. It clicked well for me. I've always been a hip hinge kind of guy.
Hmm.
It's I'm not a good presser by any means.
Yeah.
So
I don't think a lot of
it
people are.
yeah, I'm not a good presser. My squat is shit. Like my squat's worse than my pressing. Um, maybe. I don't know. Maybe not
Your
now.
squat? No way. Maybe your front squat.
My front squat. Um, and then but my hip hinge has always been good. I've been a deadlift guy for a long time.
Mm,
I think the first time I deadlifted 315, I think I was like 16 years old.
okay.
That was a long time ago. Wow.
Yeah, right.
But it came relatively naturally.
Yeah.
Um,
Mine's
and then the 185 RDL was one, it was a brand new movement. Two, I hadn't trained in a long time, so the stimulus was just like over the top for me.
Yeah.
Um, so in terms of actual weight progression, for the RDL, I'd say I'd probably put on 150, maybe 200 pounds
Yeah.
in my RDL.
Fair enough.
Um, so still,
Yeah.
anyway, that's
Still.
that's a really big amount.
Yeah. And it
That's
just goes to
almost
show that you don't need to change everything.
right. That's more than a pound every other day,
Yeah. Mm.
right? Um, my pressing has increased as well. Like I've before this program, I hadn't ever really pressed 225 for reps, and now I comfortably walk in and press it for almost 10 reps. So,
Got it.
right, the progress is there.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and that's because my general basics have always stayed the same. You know,
Hmm.
I hammer my basics. I hit them hard every week.
Yeah.
I'm working on getting ridiculously strong at them
Hmm.
in all rep ranges. And then, my secondary exercises are kind of what gets changed around, but really they're just variations of each other,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
right?
usually like
Like,
some sort of preacher or bicep hammer or something.
well, so even like my second movement after my main compound.
Oh, got you. Got you.
Yeah, so like, we'll talk. So push day, right? I flat bench, and then I would do some form of an overhead press. At one point, it was dumbbells. At one point, it was a barbell overhead press. At one point, it was a overhead pin press.
Hmm.
Um, and currently, it's a Smith overhead press.
Yeah.
But they're all overhead presses.
Yes.
Right. So like the movement didn't really change, just our variation of it did.
Hmm. How
And
long would you
so
say you switch between those variations?
probably about 12 weeks.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
That's a solid
and
amount of time.
you know, part of it was quarantine, right? When we were doing dumbbell was when I was initially in the gym before quarantine. And I had dumbbells that went up heavy enough.
Yeah.
And then quarantine happened and I was working out in the gym. I mean, in my little basement gym. And so really all I had was a barbell and a rack. I had dumbbells, but they only went up to 50 pounds. And it just wasn't enough progressive runway for me.
Yeah.
So then that was when it moved to overhead press as the second movement. And then right towards the end of my diet, um, yeah, probably about a week or two before the end of my diet, we moved to a pin press. And I think that was really just to regain control in the bottom of the movement. Um, and then I worked out in my storage unit, which still I really only had a rack and a barbell. So that stayed at pin press. And then now I'm back in the gym, and we were going to leave it at pin press. Um, but there's only two racks in the gym, and with my first movement being a flat press, I didn't want to be the asshole that takes up a rack for like an hour and a half. So I was like, let's move it to something else.
Yeah.
And so we moved to Smith press, you know.
Okay.
So really most of those changes were a result of my environment changing.
Okay. Got you.
And not because I necessarily had to change them, right? Like
Yeah.
I could still be dumbbell overhead pressing, and I'd still have runway, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so that's what I mean by like my basic movements stay the same. My secondary movements mostly stay the same, other than they're just variants of each other.
Yeah.
Um, and then my third movement, that's generally pretty consistent, actually. It doesn't change much. Again, it's just like variations of each other. You
Yeah.
know,
Like
they
what you're
they go
not.
to accomplish they go to accomplish the same thing. Like on legs, my third movement is a lunge or a Bulgarian.
Mhm.
Something unilateral. My third movement is generally a unilateral movement.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, that way, one, I am working unilaterally, right? Because that is important. If in your program you don't have any unilateral movements, you should definitely get one of those in there, especially on your legs,
Completely
right?
agree, dude. Yeah. No
Um,
unilateral chest press. Come
yeah,
on.
don't do that.
No, yeah,
That
don't
would be
don't
dumb.
be pressing with just one arm. Use both of your arms when you're pressing. But with legs,
Yes.
it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess like
Yeah.
dumbbell
So
row is an exception if you're gonna one arm dumbbell row. That's fine. But
yeah,
but if
that's
you
fine.
have two dumbbells in your hand, use both of your hands at the same time.
Use both of your hands.
Yeah,
Yes.
please.
Yeah. Chest is the only one that I can't think of like a decent unilateral movement.
Maybe like it's never been done before. Like a one arm cable fly where you're like hanging on real tight and super braced. That's like one instance I could see it. But I would never do that. You wouldn't catch me
Yeah,
doing that.
I wouldn't do that.
No.
Right.
Yeah. You wouldn't do it.
So, like chest is kind of the exception there, but you know, I really like unilateral movements for my back.
Hmm.
I love single arm cable rows. I
Yeah.
think it allows me to get the proper amount of, stretch into it and allow me to put myself in a position where I'm actually fully stretching my lat.
Yeah, and you're
'Cause
controlled and braced.
exactly. And because if I use both of my arms in a cable row, I can't quite position my hips right to stretch both of my lats maximally.
Yeah.
And then when I row it, I also can't. With a single arm, you can get a slight twist and pinch to the side. When I do single arm, I have a slight lean over to one side,
Yeah.
which allows me to fully shorten my lat.
Yeah.
You can't do that if you're doing both. So unilateral work when you're doing lats is awesome, and even upper back. You can do one arm dumbbell rows. I think that's a pretty staple for a lot of people.
Mm.
That was a movement that I definitely learned like early in my lifting career. We called them lawn mowers
Nice.
because it looked like you were trying to pull start a lawnmower.
Yeah, yeah.
Do they even make those anymore? I don't know.
I don't know either, dude. Honestly, dude, I saw some dude on a freaking leaf blower, but it was like this man was like riding a giant leaf blower. Like I haven't really seen this before. I've seen the push blowers, like giant push blowers, but this thing
Yeah.
had wheels and it was massive. That was pretty cool.
What?
Yeah, a little sidetrack.
Oh,
But
that's
yeah.
funny.
Yo, quick
But yeah,
question, dude. What happened to? Do you still where is your rack right now? Is it just chilling in a storage unit?
it's still in my storage unit. Yeah,
Okay, all right, dope.
yeah. I pay an odd amount of money to have a storage unit to hold my lifting equipment.
Yeah, yeah.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Oh,
It's
I
fine.
keep trying to I keep trying to convince the gym owner to expand into the next building over. And I'm like, if you expand, I'll bring my rack and my weights in.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll provide the equipment, you provide the space,
Yep.
everybody wins.
Yep.
Then we have a third rack, and my rack is fucking awesome because
Dude.
it's also got weight storage on it. And it's just like,
Was
it's
that
an
your
old
double?
Cybex rack. Hmm?
Oh, okay. Got you. Got you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like the old, stupidly heavy duty Cybex rack.
Yeah.
Um, it is heavy as hell.
Like near 100
But
pounds.
like, yeah, like 400, 500 pounds.
Really?
Yeah, I remember moving it. That
Mm.
was an interesting day. I did it by
That's a
myself.
that's a heavy rack. That's a heavy ass
Yeah,
rack.
because it's a four-post rack and it's got weight storage connected to the back. So really it's six posts.
Mm. Okay.
And it's like 9 feet tall. 8 feet tall. And it's not like 2x2 square tubing. It's like 2 by like 4. The thing
Okay.
is intense.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds
I'll
it.
have to send you a picture of it. But yeah, and it's got a pull-up bar on the front, and
Nice.
then yeah, and then I've got 2 bars and like 600 pounds in weight
That's really nice.
and a cable machine. I forgot I
That
got
is
that.
really nice. Do you still have that pulley too?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So I got
You
some
do
random
got the
stuff.
setup though. Yeah. How much
Got
was that
this.
setup estimated? What do you think? Just because we might be going into lockdown again, knock on
Yeah,
wood. Not
yeah.
saying it, but I'm saying it.
Um, Probably all together.
Two.
Well, probably a little bit more than that. Two and a
Okay.
half, maybe.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, let's see. Okay, so the rack and the
I mean
bench
those.
together
Yeah.
was 1,500, and then the cable machine was another like 300. Um, oh shit, we might go
Oh
way
yeah.
higher. I
Yeah. We
thought,
might be
okay.
like in the three area.
The
Yeah.
bar was another three.
Yeah. And the weights,
Um,
bro. The weights
the
are all
weights,
good amount. Is that like $2 a pound now?
yeah,
Or a buck
weights
a
are
pound?
so. No, I actually got all my weights before lockdown was even a thing.
You motherfucker.
Dude, I think I predicted it. Like I got all of, well, except for the rack because I upgraded my rack, but I bought my original rack and the bar and all my weights in like November.
Yeah. Dude, you were really early.
Yeah, and then
Wow.
lockdown happened. I was like, well, good thing I have everything.
Wow.
But
Yeah, you beat it.
yeah, it
Definitely
was
beat the
awesome.
you beat the game, sir. Congratulations. You won all the
Uh,
dumbbells and barbells
I
before they
won.
were obscenely priced.
Yeah. But yeah, so I've got all that stuff. How do we even get here?
I have no idea. Maybe we should dig into some questions.
We should probably dig into some questions.
I'm gonna
Oh
see
man,
if
we're like an hour in.
yeah,
We
did
haven't even
you
hit a
wanna start
question
off
yet.
with some? I'll see if anyone has put in any celeb calls here. I've only got like a couple of views, so there's no celeb calls in yet.
No celeb.
It's
All
all
right.
good.
Real quick and like
Yeah, real
a
quick.
a base a basic rundown. What's your plans for 2021?
I will be completely honest. I haven't really sat down and thought about them or written them out. Um, but ballpark, I would love to be in the 150s
All right.
2020. Definitely. Barbell RDLing, 3 plates. That would also be dope.
I
Um,
think you can do that. You
yeah,
did
I think it's
255
feasible.
yesterday, right?
Yeah, for 8. So
Yeah.
I'll probably rock it one more time, push it up into that 10 rep range maybe, and maybe increase load a little bit.
What is your rep range on that?
My 6 to 8 is 255 right now. And then my 12 to 15-ish is like or I'm sorry, 205.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah. I always move up in weight if I hit 8.
when you hit 8, that's when you move up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes even if I hit 7.
Oh yeah? And you're like, yeah, we're
Yeah.
doing it.
Sometimes I hit 7, I go back and watch the video, I'm like, we'll go up next week.
Word.
And then I'll
Yeah,
get 6. I'll be
honestly,
like, spot on.
255 moved real well. Like I'd be
Yeah.
confident with 275 on there, honestly, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think you could do it. Um, I think there's like a couple minor tweaks that we can
Yeah.
make with your RDL.
Mhm.
Um,
What are some of
I
your
think,
suggestions, just like right off the bat, just from kind of watching things? I
yeah.
know you didn't really
So,
get to see too much though.
my first one, when you're setting up, so I set up from bottom up feet with your toes. Imagine you're like a bird, right? So normally we just sit our feet flat. Think about actually gripping the ground, like curl your toes into the ground.
Yeah. Okay.
So start there, and then you know, kind of adjust yourself so that your bar is is straight all the way up. You know, the bar's in your hands. It's straight all the way up to your shoulders, and your shoulders are over midfoot.
Okay.
Because I think what's happening um, is you're standing up and you're just sitting a little bit far back,
Yeah.
um, and which is why when you go to come down, the bar taps your knees and then you push your butt out of the way.
Got you.
Because at the top of your movement, you're actually sitting over your heels.
Mm.
You're sitting weight over your heels,
Yeah, that I can
which
actually
then
see.
which then when you come down, the bar is going to try and go through your knees to go over your heels.
Yeah.
So you have to set yourself over center, um, which then will push it out just a little bit further, which is going to clear your knees and come over midline.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying with my shoulders being above my heels because I definitely
Yeah,
want like I'm standing like straight upright and I usually
yeah,
don't think too much about bar over midline immediately. And
Yep.
then right upon my initiation, I usually keep that bar pretty tight.
Yeah.
So next time I'll definitely I'll aim like a little bit further, like right off the get-go for sure. My
Yeah.
toes
So
though,
when
my toes are definitely like taloned into the ground,
good,
just like that though,
good.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you're starting, um, start with the bar already over midfoot.
Yeah.
When you go to initiate down, make sure you're already balanced over center foot, because if you're in the movement and you have to then make an adjustment over to be over midfoot, you're wasting efficiency essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is also going to change the way you build tension in your glutes and hammies on the way down, which is going to affect your transition back up.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
We're
So, yeah, those
good
are
shit.
just some quick tips.
Next week, we shall
Next
try.
week,
Going
275.
down. Yep,
You're gonna
275.
get those tips.
Bet
You're
your
gonna see
bottom
those
dollar.
tips. You'll be like, we're gonna do it for 10.
Fuck yeah.
No, it it should help. It
Yeah,
should help.
I think so
It's
too.
just like, it's one of those things where you just try and get the bar. Imagine this is the end of the bar, and you literally just want it to move like this.
Yeah, straight up and down.
Yep. And
My
so for that to
tendency to keep
happen,
it tight is definitely from the past. Just keeping that
yeah,
bar like really tight to myself. So it's that's one of those cues that
yeah,
I have been kind of working on trying to set the bar like just in front of my laces, kind of like Gloff says. Um,
hmm
but I still do find myself pretty tight with that bar. So I'll just get a
yeah,
little bit hot and heavy with those cues, and
yep,
hopefully it'll come
yeah. I
through.
mean, so in your very last warm up set, your one rep, just like do it all extra slow,
Yeah.
right? So you set up with the bar and then grip your feet in, tighten up your glutes, and then just think over center, right? Set yourself that you're over center. And then once you're there, I think you're doing the right thing with bringing your shoulders over the bar to start the lowering process. But because you're not over center, you run into your knees,
Mm.
right? Because the bringing your shoulders over the bar is what allows the bar to actually just go straight down from its starting point.
Yeah.
And if your starting point is over your heels, which is over your knee, under your knees,
Behind
it's
my
just
knees.
going to
Yeah.
go right there,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
So you kind of have to start. It's going to look like you're like this, right? Like a
So my hips
finished
are
rep.
slightly hinged behind me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So like you're kind of standing like this at the top of a rep.
Yeah.
If you just pull a little bit forward, it's going to set the bar over midline.
All right. Okay.
Um, that'll also help you actually feel the tension in your glutes before starting, because when you do that lockout, it takes all of your tension and setup that you do at the start with your glutes. It just takes it all away because you're
Yeah.
you're actually contracted.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so I'll definitely be cueing the hips back as well. Instead
Yep.
of like shoulders like too far over, I'll be cueing hips back. I think definitely that'll be a solid cue for me, just so I can start over midline for sure.
hmm
Word.
Yep. So give that a try.
Much
We'll
appreciated.
think about it.
275.
We'll
I'm coming
we'll
for you, little bitch. No.
we'll we'll take a look at it when you do it. But yeah, so getting thick for 2021.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, I'm also just hoping that we don't go into lockdown again. That's the other
Yeah.
thing. I don't know. If that does happen, we'll just treat it like a little mini cut or something. I guess we'll get even leaner than we were before, but try to not lose weight at the rate that we did. That will definitely be the objective.
If lockdown happens, you can just come live with me. We'll train in the storage unit.
Yeah, dude, I was gonna say I'm gonna need some weight, so
Yeah.
Worst comes like what I'm hoping for is if they do shut down New York, I do have Connecticut there, so hopefully Connecticut stays
That's
open.
true.
But Connecticut apparently has seen an influx in cases and la 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 la. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I have a client who's out in California, and he just told me, I think it was yesterday or a couple days ago. He goes, "Yep, California just shut down." Like,
No.
shit.
Damn. Yeah, that does
So
suck.
right there, I had to make a quarantine program.
Yeah. What do you think? What's a good idea? Well, I guess let's go into some of your goals too. But I
Okay.
think it'd be cool if we talked about like what we would do in
Quarantine training?
if we were just kind of to run ourselves through like a little mock 4 week quarantine, like what would we do, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, we can do that. So I'll cover my plans real quick. 2021 is going to be a super long off season, hopefully,
Hmm.
right? Um, you know, we can't get too sloppy, and I don't think we will. But there's always the chance that we go too far and we have to pull back. Um, but we the plan is to do a long off season and just put on as much size as possible, while generally keeping some shape. So we're taking it a little bit slow with calorie bumps and all that stuff, but really we're just gonna get strong and big.
Yep.
It's gonna be a pretty simple year, training wise. It probably isn't going to look incredibly different from what I've been doing,
Yep.
just because I don't really see a reason for my training to change all that much. It covers my bases exactly as I need it to,
Yeah.
and I recover exactly how I need to day to day from it. So
Yeah.
my training is pretty optimized, so that won't really change. But we're just gonna get as big as we can, you know. Right now, this morning, I weighed in like 183 flat, which really is actually 20 pounds up from the end of my diet. So
Wow.
we're yeah, so we're pushing pretty hard right now. I've really kind of poofed up in the legs um, relatively recently, since the diet. So my legs are kind of soaking up all the calories that I'm eating right now.
Going right to
Um,
the booty.
dude, it is.
Yeah.
Like, my ass is just getting big. That's it.
Can't complain. Can never have too much
um,
booty.
yeah, but honestly, I'm really hoping to develop some size in my chest this off season.
Yeah.
Um, it's one of those really subtle lacking parts for me right now. Like, what at the end of my diet, what I was really focused on was my adductors and my outer quad sweep. So like, I wanted to really grow my legs.
Uh-huh.
That was the plan, coming out of the diet, was to make sure I really hammered like my quads properly and my adductors, which has been going to plan. Um, but also looking at it, um, from an overall standpoint, I definitely need to put some actual size into my chest. Um, just because, especially in something like a front double, my chest just kind of disappears.
Okay.
Um, so looking at it that way, I really want to get some size in my chest.
Mm.
Um, I'm slowly bringing up my arms. My, it's funny. From the very beginning of my training, I actually, I just looked, and I started training like 6 years ago, almost to the date.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was looking through my Instagram, and I had a photo on there that I took of my back from the day before my very first back day ever. And then I compared it to, you know, I guess a couple weeks after my cut. So when I was nice and full, I had
Yeah.
some back photos. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
But
dude.
but yeah, so I've been training, almost 6 years to the date,
Hell yeah.
and I have been so unbro about my training that I just never trained arms.
Yeah.
Like I literally never trained arms. They're probably my least favorite body part to train.
Hmm.
Um, and
Totally
so I
opposite.
just I just totally pushed them away, and now I'm really feeling the effects of that because my arms are stupidly lacking.
Yeah.
Um, but slowly getting some size there. Obviously the overall goal is to just put on size everywhere,
Hmm.
but if we can kind of catch up some body parts in this year, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
after 2021's done, we'll see where we're at, and maybe step on stage in 2022. Who knows?
Perhaps,
But
perhaps.
yeah, definitely need a long off season. Do you have anything in specific you're looking to like really bring up?
Yeah, I was gonna maybe double back to here just to get a little bit more particular, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically kind of like the same thing. Just take like a really nice long off season, pretty much continuing my 10-year off season that I've been doing. And just I will say though that like we may have been training for so long, but I think that we've made more gains in the later years than we have
A
our entire time training.
100%. Yeah. So
Yeah,
like I kind of I break my training years up into different sections. I'm like
like
the
eras.
first yeah, the first like 3-ish years, I really had no idea what I was doing at all.
Hmm.
Right. I was training because I liked training. I was having a good time. I mean, I originally started, I guess I've actually been training longer than 6 years, but my first year of being in the gym was mostly just like losing weight and doing cardio because I was a pretty hefty young boy. So I've been 6 years of weight training, probably 7 years in the gym.
Hmm.
Um, but my first 3 years ish were just like wandering, doing whatever sounded fun, burnouts all the time,
Yeah,
you know, that
yeah.
kind of stuff, right?
Drop set blast my
Drop
muscles
set,
away.
need more.
Yeah.
We're gonna drop set this and superset it.
And then drop set that superset.
Yes. And then we're gonna go hit legs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, my first 3 years were like so mindlessly lost. Um, and then, probably the next 2 years after that, I really just power lifted. You
Yeah.
know, I I loved powerlifting. I still love powerlifting. Like that's kind of why a lot of my training, I guess, in my head is just oriented on like beating the logbook
Hmm.
because I just love smashing bigger weights.
Yeah.
I'm just like, we're gonna lift as heavy as we possibly can.
Yeah.
And
You also have a really good
that's
mentality in terms of pushing your movement proficiency towards upper limits as well.
that I think came from powerlifting.
Hmm.
Just because in powerlifting, you have to be as efficient as possible
Yeah.
to be good, right?
Yeah.
You know, or you want to be, because the goal is to lift as much weight as you possibly can at your body weight,
Yeah.
right? And to do that, you have to be efficient as hell. Like you just
Hmm.
do. And so
Yeah,
that's
dude.
that's where
I'm like getting nickled and
that's
dimed over here with my RDLs at like 140 pounds, man. You're telling me. I'm like maybe
yeah.
155.2 today. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of where the movement proficiency thing got kind of pushed into my head, was from powerlifting and just, trying going in there and trying to be, the best as I can. right? And I think then I still wasn't programming as effectively as I could have,
Yeah.
which ultimately led me to injuries. Um, and so then, no, I got injured about 2020, 2 years ago. No, year and a half ago. We'll say
Your
year and a
shoulder.
half. Yeah, right in my shoulder. Just because like I was pushing bench really hard, um, and I let myself get kind of sloppy with it, and it just ended up screwing all sorts of stuff up in here,
Yeah.
um, right in here. And so then honestly, I was really upset about it. Like, cause I was making really good progress. I was feeling great. Like I was, I was pretty happy with what I was accomplishing, you know. Um, and then I got hurt, and it kind of really put me in the dumps.
Mm.
Um, and then I started getting really busy with, side hustles and that kind of stuff that I wanted to pick up, and I just stopped lifting,
Yeah.
because I mean, it hurt to sleep on,
Yeah.
right?
Shit. It sucks having an injury.
Yeah, and so I didn't deal with it very well. So I stopped lifting for a long time, and I was like, well, I guess that's just the end of my career. And
Yep. Closing up shop here. Nothing left.
yeah, it was a little bit dramatic, but and then I turned 21. I moved out of my parents' house, and then I started drinking all the time. I'd come home and drink, and I got my corporate job, and that was exhausting. And then it was just a handful of things, and I ended up putting a ton of weight on. I got to the heaviest I'd ever been in my life ever.
Mm.
When I was lifting and I did a bulk, I consistently got stuck at like 178 as like the heaviest I could get, and I just
Mm.
like couldn't get any heavier. I wasn't intelligently programming anything.
Yeah.
Um, and I wasn't tracking as smartly as I probably could have, but I kept getting stuck at like 178, and and then I stepped on the scale after a while, and I was like 185, and I'm like,
Oh damn.
shit. Like it just hit me. I stepped on the scale, and then I looked myself in the mirror. I'm like, what have you done?
Yeah, I got chunky.
Yeah, I was just like, it blew my mind. And you know, then I bought all that stuff. I bought all the equipment, and because I wasn't comfortable going back to the gym again,
Mm.
because the gym that I went to, I knew everybody, right? And
Yeah.
everybody knew who I was in that gym. I mean, I've been training there since I was freaking 15.
Yeah.
And I wasn't comfortable going back knowing that they'd see who I had become.
Hmm.
And so I trained in my basement for a little bit. And then, I still didn't really fix my habits all that well, but I was getting back into it. It started like 3 days a week. I would just go down there and I would train and I'd try and just like feel good about what I was doing. And then it started to become a little bit more regular and a little bit more regular. And then I was at a point where I was training every day
Yeah.
again. And then, it was the new year. And right at the end of January, I was like, hey, Nick, I see you're coaching people.
Yeah.
And then I hopped on board with Nick, and he's taught me loads and loads and loads of things. And,
Hmm.
everything is now so intelligently tracked and programmed. And it's, uh, it's been quite fruitful.
Yep.
And so, yeah, no, in this last year, what I've progressed is like leaps and bounds
Leaps and
beyond
bounds. Yeah.
my previous years,
Yeah. You did
right?
more in
That
that last year than you did the
exactly,
almost
and
entire six.
right, and that goes to show just like what having a coach and what properly tracking things does,
Yeah.
and like getting a good source of knowledge does,
Hmm.
and being in the right environment does.
Yeah.
It's all of these things, and I think anybody that lifts long enough, they eventually have that breakout kind of year where everything clicks,
Hmm.
and they start to make more progress than they've ever made.
Yeah. It's kind of like stocks. You make a good investment. You make the investment to do things properly, to
Hmm.
start off on the right path. And then eventually, after a little bit of time, it's hard to see your investment pay off in the beginning, but then after a couple of years, things might take off
Yep.
and they take off.
Yep.
And you do more in
Yeah.
that last year than you did the past six. It's like
Exactly.
90% of the
But
the load was done in the last 10%.
yeah, but you gotta keep at it.
Yeah, you can't give
Um,
up. Don't pull
yep.
those stocks out too soon.
That's right. Like me. uh, yeah. If I wish I'd known the people then that I know now,
Yeah.
um, because we would have been able to rehab my shoulder properly and
Mhm.
like been back at what I was doing so much quicker. And but either way, all water under the bridge at this point.
Exactly.
I'm the biggest and strongest I've ever been. Like
Hell yeah.
like I woke up at 183 this morning and I'm not fat.
Yeah. Leaner than ever.
Like yeah, it is fun to like I look at my weight now and then, you know, at the same weight almost a year ago at this point. They're just like totally different humans.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So,
It's awesome, man. You have an
anyway,
awesome.
so that's plans for 2021.
Yeah, man. Get chonky.
We're
Get
just
chonky.
we're just going to get big.
Yep.
All right, I got another question.
All right.
This is a would
Shoot.
you rather.
Oh, okay.
Would you rather have great leg genetics or arm genetics?
Great leg genetics.
Agreed, 100%.
Great leg genetics for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think that when it comes down to it, like a sick set of wheels is just like
Yeah.
way cooler than like having some cool arms.
Agree.
I just in my opinion. And maybe that's just because I'm someone not that I even have either. But if I was to say one was better than the other, I'd say my arms are most likely a little bit better than my legs, definitely. So maybe that's me just like wanting better legs, but I just think that bigger legs are much more impressive than bigger arms.
Yeah. I think I think the people that generally use best arm genetics are people that don't think about ever stepping on stage,
Yeah.
right? Because arm genetics are what's going to look good when you're wearing a t-shirt or if you're at the beach, right? But no, I would much rather have amazing leg genetics.
Yeah.
Just
And
like,
like don't get me wrong, I think having like a cool set of arms is also cool, but I just think
oh,
it's
for
much
sure.
more respectable when someone has like some crazy
Some
quads or like
crazy
their
legs.
hammies just look pregnant, you know what I mean? Or their
Yeah.
calves are just like absolutely massive. I just think that that's way more impressive. I mean, if it's like
Yeah,
a genetic component, there is genetics, but like generally
sure.
speaking, those guys that have the good genetics, they end up with even more killer pairs of legs. Like I just
Right.
think that it's like a lot more work, a lot more dedication. It's pretty hard to build a solid pair of wheels, so there's a lot of respect for that. So
Yeah. And legs just look sick. Like
yeah,
a a set of shredded legs just look
yeah,
so sick.
yeah. It gets to
It's
the point
like,
sometimes I show Kelsey like some like pros, you know what I mean? Like
mhm.
actual like pros that are in like the Olympian stuff, and she like can't get over like she's like, oh my God. She's like, do you like that? And, like
He's like,
she'll see like the teardrops,
yeah,
the Vas's meat and she'll be like, why does it look so
Rectus
bad?
femoris.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Just like
A
it's
sick
sick.
set of legs
Yeah, it's
is
sick.
so cool.
Yeah.
The
Definitely.
the only bad part about it is just like wearing anything other than like sweatpants,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I haven't had that issue yet, so I've
Right.
had a couple pairs of jeans get kind of tight on me, but that was it. Probably from like middle school.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think we're both in agreement on leg genetics.
I do. Yeah, I think so too.
Um, yeah. I'm so interested to see like what my genetics actually look like.
Yeah.
Right? Because really, I don't know. You know, I won't know what my genetics shape out to be
Yeah.
until I've put on like the majority of the muscle that I'm gonna put on.
Yeah. Dude, I posted a thing on my story. It was like do you ever want to, it was just like a question. It was like do you ever want to like see your genetic potential? You know what I mean? It wasn't me like throwing
That's a
out
good question.
like hey, who wants to come work out and like or be a part of like my coaching thing. It was really just a general question like hey, like are you an individual who's genuinely interested in seeing what their body has to offer? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like it's almost like seeing how smart you could be if you just
Right.
really took the time to be as smart as humanly possible. And it's like hard to measure that like intellect or whatever, but it's just like
Sure.
generally just sitting down and learning on a lot of things, like seeing how far you can push that IQ. It's like your body right now, if you're someone who doesn't train at all, your body has so much potential to grow. Like your tissue
Yeah.
has so much potential to grow. You've got years of progression ahead of you if you're someone who's not really in this game. And it's like I always walk like I just like walking down the street or something, and you just like look at random people, and like generally speaking you can tell like who works out, who kind of doesn't.
Yeah.
But like at the same time it's like looking at the people that like don't work out, or like maybe haven't worked out before, or they look like they kind of haven't, or they're like maybe not in the gym currently. It's like just
Yeah.
thinking about the genetic potentials, or like how many like Olympians there are just like walking around you that
Just
never
walking
were
around. Yeah.
Olympians, that were just never Olympians, you know what I mean? And they don't even know
Yeah.
it themselves, but had they just taken a different path like back in the day, or
Yeah.
if they like picked up
Had
a weight.
somebody said one thing that was different in their life and they
Yeah.
decided to push them into the gym.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like they could have been an Olympian. Maybe not, but
Maybe
maybe they
not.
had those
But
genetics to be an Olympian. It's like it's cool to think
yeah.
about that. Like there could be a
It's
few of
like
them walking around you.
and
You could be one of them listening to this
I could
podcast.
be.
You
You
could
could
be one
be.
of them too, Brady, and I just might be.
No, I don't think I could. I don't think so.
Who knows, man? You
Yeah.
got to give it some time.
Yeah. But we'll find out. I think I've got decent shape, but we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. And the more we keep working at it, we're only going to look better and better. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
I'm
think
just
we're going to
like
get any worse.
I'm I'm a big dude. I'm not a big dude. I'm like I'm like big on symmetry.
Yeah.
And so if I don't come out to be like symmetrical, I'm gonna be really upset.
You're going to be kind of tight.
I'm gonna be kind of upset. Like my back, for instance. Um, from my cut and looking at everything, I actually have a really decently symmetrical back.
Okay.
And so that better stay.
I mean, if you
Right.
ask me, dude, I think it should. I think it'll stay. If you ask me, I have seen what you're saying though. I've seen dudes that will hit it like a back double, and
And
like
their sides look
one of the
different.
sides of their,
Yeah.
yeah, like one side's a little bit off than the other. Like that's not
They
something
have
that's.
like one rhomboid that's shorter than the
That was
other.
the one I was gonna
That's
say. The
it, dude.
rhomboid
It's
like
it.
comes down a
So
little bit
many
more than
people.
the other one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like I'm
Now
praying.
I'm all self conscious now, Brady. God damn it. I'm afraid of my back
I'm
doubles.
praying that as I get bigger, that like I stay symmetrical.
Yeah,
Um,
I think you
you know,
will.
I think I've got the right insertions for it.
Yeah,
Um,
I was gonna say I think it comes more down to like insertions slash doing things improperly forever.
yeah,
Maybe you'll get that adaptation like that, but generally
yeah,
speaking, you definitely have most of your boxes checked off in terms of achieving some similarities in the future.
yeah. I'm really trying to grow some like actual quad sweep. My
Yeah.
legs are really weird. So if you look at my legs from the side, my rectus femoris actually puts a nice like front sweep to my legs. Um, If you look at any of my side photos, you'll see that my leg isn't just like straight down. It has like a nice round to it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at me from the front, my quads are like fucking squares.
Yeah, you do have some blocky quads.
I know. And like I want the roundness.
Yeah.
And so what I've really been trying to focus on is like, well, I was doing some reflecting the other day, and I thought about when I'm hitting my legs, I've never really felt like my outer sweep in any quad movement that I do. And so I've been trying to like make that a mental note to figure out that connection
Mm.
because like I can hit my teardrops, I can hit my rectus femoris, but like I just can't hit like the lateralis.
Okay. Yeah,
And
that is interesting.
right. Um, but when I finally got on this pendulum squat that I've been hitting a lot recently, I like found it. And so I've
Mm.
just been hitting that a ton.
Now you're just running with it.
Yeah, I'm just running with it. I actually really like the pendulum squat. I didn't like it at first, but I really like it now.
Okay.
It took me some adjusting to like figure out the stance and everything on it, but I'm actually a big fan of it now.
Yeah. I like the pendulum at my place too. I like facing
Hmm.
towards it though. The way that you also face.
Yeah.
I like facing towards it rather than away from it.
Yeah, so like sitting into it so that you're facing out, I think it's supposed to replicate like a hack squat,
Yeah.
but
It's awkward.
I it is really awkward to hit actual depth. You either have to push your butt way back because of how the pendulum, it's on an arc, so it does this, right?
Yeah.
And so you pass here, this is like 90s, but then to
Your
hit
butt
the
goes back.
bottom for like actual knee flexion, you then have to stick your butt back.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
It's like trying to do a hack with your hips hinged to like near 90 degrees is kind of what it feels
Yeah,
like to me. It's weird.
it's
Overly hip
it's
hinged.
really weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, but doing it as an actual squat, like a
Hmm.
pendulum squat, I like it. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude,
For sure.
yesterday, I've been in a really weird funk, but yesterday in my leg day, I actually didn't RDL yesterday. I was supposed to, and I didn't. I know.
I
I
didn't
know.
lunge yesterday. I should have, but I
I,
I should have, but I
uh,
didn't. I called it.
you know, my my water intake has been really bad the last couple of days. Um, and I think it's been affecting like my recovery. Like I've just been tired the
Mm.
last couple of days. Um, I don't know why. I'm gonna blame it on my water and fix my water and see if that's it. Um, but so going into the session, I was just really tired.
Mm.
I was like, I don't want to do RDLs today because I know I'm just not gonna have the output that I need. So I kind of like tossed it off to the side, and instead I switched it to, which actually I did. I really didn't hit hamstrings at all yesterday, other than some ham curls. I switched it to a quad day because I want quads. Um, and so I hit the pendulum, and I hit it heavy. I did 6 plates per side for 10. That was pretty good. I wanted to do 7, but I couldn't find any more matching plates, and I was like, all right, 6 it is. Um, so I did that. I think I can actually take it further than I did, but I didn't want to push it too far. And then I did downset at 5 plates for like 20. Um, and then after that, I did a stupid set. So I went to the Smith machine and I set it up like a hack squat. So I set up in the Smith, and then I set my feet so that my heels were actually in front of the midline of the poles.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're doing like a Smith squat, like a normal squat on a Smith machine, you'll set your midline right at where the bar is going to come down. if you want to set it up to be like a hack, you just you take about a step in front of it, so that your heels are just in front of where the Smith poles are.
Yeah.
Um, and I just put one plate on each side. I was also coaching somebody while doing all of this. Um, and so I loaded up his weights for it because it's in his program to do that. And he was doing sets of 20. And so I did a set of 20. I was like, well, that was fun. That felt good. And so I looked over to my friend Chris. I was like, Chris, give me a number. And I love playing this
Yeah,
game.
that's crazy.
I'm I'm like, give me a number. And he didn't say anything at first. And the owner of the gym at the very front just goes, 45. And Chris goes, 45. I was thinking like 90.
Oh.
And so they went, well, add them together, 135.
Did you do 135 reps?
I didn't make it to 135. I got 100. I got
All right.
100.
Got you.
100 with 2 rest pauses.
Nice.
And I just I cardiovascularly could not do anymore. Like I just collapsed. I was so shot. But yeah, that was pretty wild.
Put some hair on your chest.
Yeah, I keep challenging my sanity.
Yeah, I saw
It's
that.
like I just I don't know. I put it in my Instagram post yesterday. I was like, I don't know what I'm looking for,
Mm.
but everything that I do right now just doesn't seem like enough. And so I keep throwing these crazy sets at me just to see what I'm made of.
Mhm.
And I don't know. It's been really weird. It's just
Have
like
you
I
been throwing these sets at yourself a lot recently?
maybe once a week, once every other week. It's not like every session. And I
Yeah.
only do stupid sets on leg days.
Okay. I'm
So
just thinking about like other variables that could be affecting like how you're feeling too. Because like if you're doing it, if you're really pushing it like systemically, you can theoretically speaking, you can really only tolerate so much.
right.
But I know that
Yeah, no, my
you keep some good tabs on how you're feeling though.
yeah, no, I'll after that, after doing the 100, my CNS was fried.
I was gonna say,
I
yeah,
think I laid on the floor for 10 minutes.
yeah, for sure. Oops,
And
sorry.
then I mean, I had the craziest leg pump though.
Yeah, no, I
It
bet.
was insane.
Yeah.
Um and then after that I was like, I'm done with legs. And I went to go do arms and I sat down on a cable preacher machine thing that I kind of have to adapt to be my own thing. Um, and I set up and I was doing it, and then I went to stand up and I was just passed out. I was like, I am not recovered yet.
Yeah.
So I just drank some water, sat on the machine. But
Nice. Nice.
yeah, it's fun. Doing those sets are fun. Um, it's a good challenge, and it's just it's that push of just all right, one more, all right, one more,
Yeah.
come on,
Yeah.
one more, ready.
Seeing what you got.
You just get this rhythm in your head that's just breathe, go, breathe, go, and you
Mm.
just kind of keep moving. Um, and but they definitely take a toll, right?
Yeah, they definitely do. Definitely do. Yeah.
So
And you're not
yeah,
going in there and like one rep maxing every week, like I see most people do. I
yeah,
won't even say
I
most
don't
people,
one rep
some
max at
people.
all.
Yeah, I
It's
know. I
funny,
haven't one rep maxed in years.
my crazy stuff that I do is always just crazy in terms of volume.
hmm
Um,
It's like mental.
yeah,
Pure
yeah,
mental.
exactly. It's really more crazy in terms of mental capacity.
Yeah, and seeing how much you can tolerate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When will I shut down?
Yep.
And silly. So
It's right
challenge
around
to anybody.
100 reps.
Anybody that's also a little bit psycho, get on a Smith machine, load up one plate on each side, and then have somebody in the gym just like give you a ridiculous number and then do it.
Yep.
Like you get 2 rest pauses, so you can rack the weight, take a second to breathe, and like, you know, regain your vision,
Couple of
and
seconds
then
on the brain. It's
go after it again.
oh,
You know, I think I wasn't allowed more than 2 minutes in between sets,
mhm.
which was plenty. I really think I did it in like 45-second increments.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I definitely recommend in that first set trying to knock out as many as you possibly can. Because the wall comes up quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my first set I did 45, which was a lot of reps.
That's a good
And
amount.
then after
That is a
that, it
good
was
amount.
sets of 30 or sets of 35, something like that.
Damn, dude.
Um,
Yeah. Dude, that's crazy set.
yeah, but that's fun stuff. You know, don't do them all the time, but sometimes they're fun to throw in there and just like see what you're capable
Cook you.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just like
definitely.
remind you that weights will destroy you.
Hmm. Yeah, be humbled, get
Even
bullied a
when they're
little
not
bit.
heavy. Like
Yeah,
a quick reminder that light weights can destroy you.
they really can. I know. When I'm doing the preparatory work with some of my clients, they get destroyed, man. That's like
It's
that is the funniest thing. Like even myself, I also get destroyed. We can destroy ourselves with the preparatory work, but it's like when you really just take the time to focus on using a smaller weight, you should be
hmm
using that much more intent, generally
yeah,
speaking. Especially like with my warm-ups and stuff like that, you know. When
yeah,
the loads are light, you use a lot more intent, and then as things kind of go up, you kind of break out of that barrier just a little bit. You start
yeah,
moving. Yeah. But getting humbled by a 5 pound counterbalance squat can
yeah,
definitely make you feel some type of way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, ding. All right, I have one more question.
Dope.
I don't even know how we got there, but I got one more question. All right. Do you wear a lifting belt?
No, I don't.
No?
When I was training with Diab, I was towards the very end because we were like chasing our 1RMs. But that was like a small era of that. Maybe like for
Yeah.
like 4 months I wore one. But outside of that, I don't really like them. Um, and I actually was a somewhat big belt user, I would say. Like I didn't use it like ever to chest press by any means or like on leg extensions. I saw a man with a
Yeah.
belt on doing leg extensions a couple days ago at Planet Fitness. I don't really know
Nice.
his application there, but yeah, like back in the day, I definitely used to use a belt. But I have moved away from the belt because it just makes a lot of sense to be able to kind of handle whatever you're doing to tolerate the loads that you're able to tolerate
Yes.
without using a belt.
Yes.
You know,
You
there's
should
no
be
point in kind
fully
of putting a
capable.
yeah, there you shouldn't really like outside of like some lifting straps to kind of help you with
Yeah.
that load
That's
when that
different.
load gets a little bit too much. Yeah, that is completely different.
I think
Um,
lifting straps are way different
yeah,
than a belt.
yeah, still an accessory, but the application is a little bit different. You know, instead of having that cue to have that belt around your stomach to create that intra-abdominal pressure, you should be able to confidently produce the same environment without a belt on. So that when
Yes.
you step up to the bar, you don't need a belt. And if you need a belt because you're getting bent over a bar or you're getting lawn chaired, it means that you should probably take a couple steps back, go back to the
Yep.
drawing board, and get yourself a stronger functioning core without a belt. So that
Yeah.
when it comes
Agreed.
time to actually, lifting a little bit heavier, you don't need it. And then you don't run the risk of, running into an injury. And I think the other thing is it's really nice to not have a binky. Like it's really
Yeah.
nice to be able to go into the gym and say, I don't need my belt. Or to step up to something. Like the worst feeling was stepping underneath a bar thinking I need a belt. Otherwise I'm gonna get folded. That was like
Yep.
it's like such a shitty feeling not being able to confidently get under a bar without needing some accessory to help you out, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. What's your
I am
opinions
100% with you.
outside of being
Yeah, I
100%
think
aboard with that? What do you think?
I think, you know, having a belt is, I don't even want to call it, it's not even a crutch, right? It's you're depending on something to do your job for you,
Yeah.
right? And I also used to be a belt wearer, right? Powerlifter things. Um, but now with this style training and the knowledge that I have from the stuff that I do now, I I don't want to depend on something so crucial like my lower back on an external item, right? I I can control my brace, right? And so I don't want to put my brace in the hands of something else.
Yeah.
You know, it's if I can't handle a weight, it's because I can't handle a weight. I don't want it to I don't want to walk up to a weight and go, belt feels funny today, guess I can't lift it.
Yeah. That's such
Right?
BS.
Like I don't want that to be a thing. Now, I lots of people use belts. If you like to use a belt and it helps you remember to cue your brace, then so be it. Um,
Hmm.
but personally, belts end up giving me more discomfort than help because I already know how to create my own brace.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Right? They're more restricting to me than they are helpful.
Yeah.
Right? So if you can, and everyone should, be working to improve their bracing capabilities. We should have the ability to create our own pressure and keep our core and our lower back and our intra abdominal pressure locked tight.
Yeah.
We should be able to do that as humans.
Yeah. And
If you
in a
can't, I mean, if you're listening to this, you are probably doing it right now. Otherwise you'd be folded in half,
hmm
right? We always to some degree have some pressure holding us upright. And so you should be able to translate that and increase your capacity to then do it in your lifts.
Yeah.
I just
I
don't
think,
like depending on other things to save me,
yeah.
right?
Like in
Now
a
where straps are
vacuum,
different, go ahead,
straps are different. Yeah.
right? Where straps are different is I do not care about how strong my forearms are,
Yeah.
right? My forearms should not be the limiter in a muscle that's 4 times as big as it,
hmm
right? My forearm should not be what limits my hamstring growth,
Yeah.
right? And so in an RDL, because that's my heaviest lift, if my forearms are failing before I can create the stimulus in my hamstrings, I have essentially wasted the entire movement,
Yeah.
right? So the straps are not saving me from anything. They're just allowing me to properly execute an exercise and target a muscle that I'm actually trying to target.
Yeah. To its fullest capacity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they are different. They're both accessories, but they're different. The
hmm
purpose behind them.
Yeah.
Belts are generally used as people's savior, right? Because
Yeah.
people will warm up without a belt. They'll do their first warm up without a belt,
hmm
which means that they think they have the ability to create the bracing to lift that warm up weight. And then suddenly, when it gets heavy, they need that savior so that they don't fold,
Yeah.
right? Straps are just there so that we can execute a lift heavy enough to properly stimulate the muscle that we're trying to work without having to worry about the weight falling out of our hands.
Yeah. And that bottleneck is your grip strength. So if you could
100%.
lift 500 pounds, and the other thing, like you could use lifting straps improperly too, just like you use a belt improperly. Like if your grip strength just shot out on you at like 200 pounds and you still wanted to go up to 250, but your back is already rounding, you can still lift 250 pounds with a rounded back, but it doesn't mean that that's ideal. And those straps did help you theoretically lift a little bit more, but what shouldn't have changed was your back rounding and the way that you're going about that lift. And like you were
And
kind of saying, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
that's where we come back to rep standardization.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we could beat that dead horse again, but we won't on this episode.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Oh,
people like to when they like go, usually that's like what you're saying. It's like we don't use a belt for like our warm up sets, and then when we get to that top set, we start using our belt. Or when things get heavy, we start using a belt. And it's like, oh well, we folded like 20 pounds down, and now we're coming up 20 pounds, so we clearly need a belt so that we stop folding. But maybe you need to taper back a bit, go back to the drawing board, and then look at the reasons why you're folding, why you can't keep your torso upright, why you can't maybe access a full range of motion, this, that, the other, maybe have some pain here and there or something like that. Go back to the drawing board before you just slap a big old Band-Aid on it, for sure.
yeah. Agreed. I think we've been on for like 2 hours, man.
Yeah, we're at a minute 46 now.
A minute.
Oh, hour 46? Hour 46:33.
Yeah. All right. So, for the sake of standardization,
Keeping
we'll,
everything the same here.
yeah, we'll wrap this one up.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Yep. Thanks for stopping in. Hope you learned something, or at least we made you think about something.
Yeah. Or if you just enjoyed the talk in general.
Yeah. If you just want to hang out, thanks for joining. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube and checking out our beautiful faces.
Hey.
If you're on Spotify or Google Podcasts or any of the podcast listening stations, give us a rating and review. We would greatly appreciate that. And we'll catch you guys next week.
Have a good one, guys.
All right. Catch you later, Brandon.
Peace, Brady.